Thank you, and welcome to my first attempt at a series of videos. This series is going to be called Book Bashing, and what I'm going to do is take a subject that is of interest to me and list my top 5 books in that category. To begin, we're going to do History of Radicalism. Number 5, David Dellinger, The Life and Times of a Nonviolent Revolutionary by Andrew E. Hunt. Basically just because I liked it, but also because this guy was a central figure that never really got much press, and he is somebody that I think is a lot more influential than people are aware of. So anybody who wants to make any kind of a study of that period of time should be aware of it. It's a very well written book. Really enjoyed it, so it's number 5 on my list. Let me know what you think. Number 4, Family Circle, The Boudins and the Aristocracy of the Left by Susan Braude. Maybe not the most entertaining book about the Boudins and the aristocracy of the left and that whole chunk of history, but probably the most complete and the most compelling with regards to Kathy Boudin, her relationship with her father, and all of the strangeness that surrounded that family. A much more entertaining book specifically about Kathy is The Big Dance, the untold story of Kathy Boudin and the terrorist family that committed the Brinks robbery, by John Condalucci. I strongly suggest that if you have an interest in the whole Boudin story, that you start with Family Circle and move on to The Big Dance. I would be greatly interested if anybody's got any other books that even touch on this, because it's one of those nuggets of history that is very interesting to me. Number 3 on my list is Reunion, a memoir by Tom Hayden. He passed away in 2016 and was most famous for being Jane Fonda's husband, but he was a critical player, especially in the late 60s, early 70s. And if you're a conservative reader of history, you're gonna read this book white knuckle, but it's very engaging. It's long. It is a little bit self-serving. It's a lot self-serving sometimes. If you want the counterpoint to this book, Aid and Comfort by Mark David Holzer is a very conservative view of what Jane Fonda and, of course, Tom Hayden did during that period of time. But this is one of those books that it's a first-person view of that particular important period in history, and I think it's a worthy read. Number 2 on my list is The Assassination of Fred Hampton, How the FBI and the Chicago Police Murdered a Black Panther. It is a very engaging read about the Black Panthers. It seems like everybody who was ever even tangentially affiliated with the Panthers wrote a book at some point. This is definitely one of the better ones. Makes a strong case. Other books that are on the list that are very good, but I don't think quite as engaging, are Soul on Ice. You must read that. That's Eldridge Cleaver. Later on, he wrote Fire on Ice, which was maybe not even him that wrote that. There's some controversy about that. Probably the worst Black Panther book that I read. It was very long. It was not very interesting. It was just minutia and sort of that 60s speech where you just all they were doing was chanting and I don't know, there was some craziness involved. There was A Taste of Power by Elaine Brown. Just a bad book, badly written, about somebody who thought they were a lot more important than they really were, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Number 1 on my list has got to be Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, the 1971 book. I realize for the parameters of what I said in the beginning, it's a little bit late in the game, but Rules for Radicals is one of those books that's constantly cited, constantly being sourced, and I think to really be able to engage in a discussion about 60s radicalism and 70s radicalism, and even the modern day versions of super left activism, you got to read this book. I mean, it is one of those books that really hits it on the head, and frankly, when you see people who are not that far on the left not engaging in those tactics, not using some of those common sense things that he's talking about, the Gene Smart from Dictatorship to Democracy is another great book that says a lot of the same things, but for some reason it seems like the left is just better at using some of the tactics that Saul Alinsky brought up. And if you want to engage in a discussion about activism of any sort, you got to read this book. Thanks again for being one of the 3 people to take the time to watch one of my very early attempts at this. I really appreciate it. I hope that you guys will take a look at the links below and comment And just let me know what you think. Also, I'm going to put some links to my Goodreads page, which is the inspiration for a lot of this. Thanks for your time.